Ladies, I need you to hear me today. You are not here by accident. You are not a mistake. You are a woman blessed by God, and I came to remind you of what's already inside of you. See, the enemy wants to convince you that you're not enough, that you're too much, that you're too broken. But the fact that you're still standing, the fact that you're still here, still pressing, still believing, that's proof that God's hand is on your life. So how do you know you're a woman blessed by God? Let me tell you, God's favor is something you can't explain, yet you can't deny. It's the force that moves you when you don't even realize you're being moved. It's the reason you've been able to step into places you never imagined. The reason why things have worked out for you when they shouldn't have. The reason why you keep getting opportunities that others seem to struggle for. Favor is not something you earn. It's something God freely gives. Some people think favor is about luck, but favor has nothing to do with chance. It has everything to do with God's purpose over your life. When God's favor is on you, things shift. It's the unseen force pushing open doors that were locked. It's the divine appointment that aligns you with the right people at the right time. It's the unexplainable moments when you find yourself in a position you weren't even looking for, yet it fits like it was designed just for you. That's because it was. Think about the moments in your life when you felt unqualified, times when you doubted yourself, when you looked around and thought, why am I even here? But somehow things worked in your favor. Somehow you found yourself standing in places you never thought you'd have access to. That wasn't a coincidence. That was God's favor pulling you into something bigger than you could have orchestrated on your own. There are people who have worked harder than you, studied longer than you, and had more connections than you, yet they're wondering how you got the opportunity that passed them by. It's because God's favor isn't about qualifications, it's about calling. And when you are called, favor follows. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't check resumes. It doesn't wait for approval. It just moves. When God's favor is on your life, people will try to figure out why things always seem to work out for you. They'll try to rationalize it, to explain it in a way that makes sense. But favor isn't logical. Favor doesn't fit into human reasoning. It defies explanation. It confuses the critics and frustrates the enemy because it can't be stopped. What God has set in motion for you, no one can block. Some of you have been walking through doors that you didn't even knock on. Jobs you weren't looking for suddenly opened up. Relationships that you never pursued found their way into your life. Opportunities that you didn't seek out were placed in your path. And the crazy thing is, you weren't even striving for it. That's what favor does. Favor moves ahead of you, preparing things you didn't even know you needed. You may not have the qualifications on paper, but when favor is on your life, your name gets mentioned in rooms you've never walked into. People start noticing you without you trying to be seen. Your work gets recognized in ways that don't make sense. That's because God's favor doesn't wait for you to be ready. It positions you according to His timing. Some people think they have to fight for every opportunity, manipulate every situation, and strive to be noticed. But when you have favor, you don't have to strive. You don't have to beg. You don't have to compromise. Favor does what effort alone cannot. Favor puts you in the right place at the right time with the right people. The favor of God is why some of you survive situations that should have taken you out. It's why you recover from setbacks that others never came back from. It's why you walked away from seasons that should have destroyed you, yet you came out stronger, wiser, and more blessed. Favor is not just about getting opportunities. It's about God preserving you for the opportunities He has prepared for you. Some of you have been trying to figure out why you keep getting access to things that others struggle for, why doors keep opening when you least expect it, why things seem to align for you even when you're not striving for them. That's the evidence of favor. It's not because you're the most qualified, the most connected, or the most experienced. It's because God has His hand on you. Favor isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. It's the moment when the right person notices you at the right time. It's the unexpected phone call that changes everything. It's the seemingly small decision that leads to something bigger than you ever imagined. That's how favor works. It moves quietly, but it produces undeniable results. When God's favor is on your life, you don't have to force things to happen. You don't have to chase opportunities. You don't have to manipulate situations. All you have to do is walk in obedience and let God do what only He can do. When He opens a door, no one can shut it. When He makes a way, no one can block it. People will look at your life and wonder how you keep winning. They'll try to figure out your secret, try to understand what you're doing differently. But it's not about what you're doing. It's about whose you are. When you belong to God, His favor follows you. Some of you are standing in the middle of favor right now, and you don't even realize it. You're questioning why. you're in certain positions, why you're being noticed, why things are shifting in your life. It's because God's favor is opening doors that you didn't even knock on. There have been moments in your life when you thought you were overlooked, but in reality, you were being set apart. You thought you were being rejected, but you were actually being redirected. You thought the door was closing on you, but God was positioning you for something better. That's what favor does. It doesn't always look like a blessing at first, but when you step into what God has for you, you'll realize that every closed door was leading you to something greater. Some people will try to discredit you. They'll say you don't deserve it. They'll try to make you feel like you haven't earned it. But let me tell you something. Favor isn't about what you deserve. It's about what God has decided. And when God decides to bless you, there is nothing anyone can do about it. You may have walked through seasons where you felt invisible, where you felt like no one saw you, like no one recognized your efforts. But God saw you. And when it's your time, He will make sure that you are seen. He will bring you into places that your resume can't explain. He will put your name in the mouths of people who have influence. He will open doors that no one can shut. Some of you have been working in the background, thinking that no one notices, but favor is about to bring you to the forefront. You don't have to force it. You don't have to make it happen. God is about to reveal what He has been preparing you for. When you walk in favor, you don't have to fight for a seat at the table. God will reserve one for you. You don't have to network your way into purpose. God will connect you to the right people at the right time. You don't have to worry about missing opportunities. What's meant for you will find you. Favor is the reason why some of you are about to step into blessings that you didn't even pray for. You thought you were just doing your best, just trying to be faithful, just doing what you could. But God was orchestrating something bigger. Favor has been working behind the scenes, setting you up for something greater than you imagined. You may not feel qualified. You may not think you're ready, but when God's favor is on your life, it doesn't matter what you think. It only matters what He has declared. You don't have to chase after blessings. Blessings will chase after you. You don't have to beg for opportunities. Opportunities will find you. Because when God's favor is on your life, doors will open that you didn't even knock on. Strength is not something you always recognize in yourself. Sometimes you don't realize how strong you are until being strong is the only option you have left. Life has a way of putting you in situations where you feel like you have nothing left to give, like you're at your breaking point, like you've been stretched beyond what you thought you could handle, and yet somehow you keep going. Somehow you wake up and face another day. Somehow you press forward even when everything inside you is telling you to quit. That is strength. That is evidence that God's hand is on your life. There were seasons where you thought you wouldn't make it. Days when the weight of what you were carrying felt unbearable. Moments when you cried out to God asking why He allowed you to go through so much. And yet here you are. You didn't break. You didn't fall apart. You may have been under the pressure, but you didn't collapse. And that's not because of your own power. That's because God was holding you up. People will look at you and assume that you've had it easy, that you've always been this strong, that you've never struggled, but they don't know what you had to fight through. They don't know about the nights you laid awake wondering how you were going to make it. They don't know about the moments when you had to encourage yourself because there was no one else around to do it for you. They don't know about the battles you fought in silence, about the prayers you prayed in desperation, about the tears you wiped away before anyone could see them. Strength isn't loud. It doesn't always show up in grand gestures. Sometimes strength is just deciding to keep going when you feel like giving up. Sometimes strength is getting out of bed when everything in you wants to stay hidden. Sometimes strength is showing up when you feel like disappearing. The fact that you're still standing, still believing, still pressing forward, that is strength. And that strength didn't come from you. It came from the one who has been sustaining you all along. The enemy thought he could break you. He threw everything at you: pain, disappointment, rejection, betrayal. He tried to wear you down, tried to make you believe that you weren't strong enough to handle it. But what he didn't realize is that every attack only made you stronger. Every struggle only built your endurance. Every hardship only deepened your faith. What was meant to destroy you actually developed you. What was meant to stop you actually propelled you forward. You didn't know you had this kind of strength until you were put in situations that required it. You didn't know you could survive heartbreak until your heart was shattered. You didn't know you could recover from loss until you had to say goodbye to something or someone you thought you couldn't live without. You didn't know you could overcome fear until you had to step into the unknown with nothing but faith to hold on to. Every time you thought you had reached your limit, God showed you that you had more in you than you realized. People will see you now and admire your strength, but they don't understand the process it took to get here. Strength is not built in comfort. It is forged in adversity. It is refined in the fire of trials. It is shaped through the struggles that you thought would break you. If you never faced resistance, you would never develop resilience. If you never had to fight, you would never discover what you're capable of. Strength is not something you pray for. It's something you gain through experience. There were moments when you thought the pain was too much to bear. Moments when you questioned whether you had the capacity to keep going. But the fact that you are here today, the fact that you are still moving forward, the fact that you didn't let the weight of life crush you, that is evidence of divine strength. That is proof that God has been carrying you even when you felt like you were walking alone. Some people wonder how you do it. They wonder how you keep smiling after everything you've been through. They wonder how you keep believing after all the disappointments you faced. They wonder how you keep showing up when you have every reason to quit. What they don't realize is that your strength is not your own. It is supernatural. It is the kind of strength that comes from knowing that you are not alone, that you are not forgotten, that you are not abandoned. It is the kind of strength that comes from understanding that God's power is made perfect in your weakness. You didn't always feel strong. There were times when you felt like you were barely hanging on. Times when you questioned whether you could take another step forward. But every time you thought you had reached your breaking point, God gave you just enough grace to keep going. He gave you just enough strength to face the next challenge. He gave you just enough hope to believe that things could get better. You are stronger than you think. You have endured things that would have broken someone else. You have walked through fire and come out without being consumed. You have faced storms that should have drowned you, but instead they strengthened your faith. The very things that were meant to destroy you have only made you more resilient. Some people are waiting for the perfect circumstances before they move forward. They are waiting to feel strong before they step into what God has called them to do. But strength doesn't show up before the battle. It shows up in the middle of it. You don't need to feel strong to be strong. You don't need to have it all together to take the next step. Strength is not about having everything figured out. It's about trusting that God will sustain you even when you feel weak. Some of you have been looking at your situation and thinking that you don't have the strength to make it through. You've been telling yourself that you're too tired, too broken, too worn out to keep going. But if you could see yourself the way God sees you, you would realize that you have more in you than you think. You would see that you are not just surviving, you are overcoming. You are not just enduring, you are growing. You are not just making it through, you are being strengthened in the process. Strength is not about never feeling weak. It's about refusing to let your weakness define you. It's about understanding that even when you feel like you can't take another step, God is already making a way for you. It's about knowing that your struggles are not the end of your story. They are just part of the process. The reason why you keep getting back up, the reason why you keep pushing forward, the reason why you haven't given up is because God has been strengthening you all along. Every hardship, every challenge, every moment of pain has been shaping you into the person you were always meant to be. You may not see it now, but one day you will look back and realize that every tear you cried, every battle you fought, every moment you thought you couldn't survive was actually making you stronger. Strength is not found in avoiding difficulty. It is found in facing it. It is found in walking through the fire and coming out refined. It is found in trusting that even when you feel like you have nothing left to give, God will give you exactly what you need. Strength is not about how much you can handle on your own. It's about how much you allow God to handle through you. Opposition is not proof that you're doing something wrong. It's often proof that you're carrying something powerful. The enemy doesn't attack people who aren't a threat. He doesn't waste his time on those who are stagnant, those who are content with staying where they are, those who are not walking in their God-given purpose. But the moment you start stepping into who God created you to be, the moment you start aligning yourself with his plans, the moment you start walking in the authority he has given you, that's when the attacks come. That's when the resistance shows up. That's when the enemy starts throwing everything he can in your path to try to stop you. Some people think that when they face opposition, it must mean they're on the wrong path. They assume that if things get too hard, it must be a sign that they need to turn back. But if that were true, then Jesus himself would have never fulfilled his purpose. Every step he took toward his destiny was met with resistance. Every time he moved in the direction of his calling, he faced opposition. People misunderstood him, doubted him, rejected him, plotted against him. And yet, none of it stopped him. In fact, the more opposition he faced, the clearer his mission became. The enemy doesn't fight people who aren't a threat. If you're facing opposition, it's because you're carrying something valuable. If you weren't a problem for the kingdom of darkness, you wouldn't be under attack. The resistance isn't there to destroy you. It's there to confirm that you're walking in purpose. It's there to show you that what you're carrying is worth fighting for. Some of you have been questioning why you keep facing so much resistance. You've been wondering why every time you take a step forward, something tries to push you back. You've been frustrated because it feels like nothing is coming easy. But what if the resistance is actually proof that you're on the right path? What if the struggle is actually a sign that you're stepping into something powerful? What if the attacks are not there to break you, but to build you? The enemy doesn't attack what he's not afraid of. He doesn't fight what isn't a threat to his plans. The very fact that you keep facing obstacles, the very fact that people keep trying to discredit you, the very fact that doors seem to close right before you step through them is proof that what you're carrying is significant. The resistance is a sign that you have a calling on your life that the enemy is terrified of. Some people will try to convince you that if something is really from God, it should be easy. That if you're really walking in his will, everything should fall into place without struggle. But that's not how purpose works. Purpose attracts pressure. Calling invites conflict. Destiny doesn't come without a fight. When you're stepping into something great, you're going to face opposition, not because you're on the wrong path, but because you're on the right one. Look at the stories of people in the Bible who did great things for God. None of them had an easy journey. Joseph had a dream, but before he saw it come to pass, he was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. David was anointed to be king, but before he sat on the throne, he had to run for his life from Saul, hide in caves, and face countless battles. Moses was called to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, but before he could do that, he had to confront Pharaoh, endure rejection from his own people, and navigate the wilderness. Every single one of them faced opposition, not because they were outside of God's will, but because they were right in the middle of it. Some of you are in a season where it feels like everything is working against you. You're trying to do the right thing, but you keep running into roadblocks. You're trying to be obedient, but every step forward comes with resistance. You're trying to walk in your calling, but the opposition is relentless. Don't mistake the battle for a sign that you're failing. The battle is a sign that you're advancing. The struggle is a sign that you're stepping into something greater. The enemy's goal is to get you to quit before you reach what God has for you. He wants you to believe that the opposition means you're not supposed to continue. He wants you to feel so discouraged, so exhausted, so frustrated that you give up on the very thing God has called you to do. But if you could see what's on the other side of this battle, if you could see what God is setting up for you, if you could see how close you are to breakthrough, you wouldn't let the opposition stop you. The resistance is not there to break you, it's there to strengthen you. It's there to prepare you for the weight of your calling. If you never faced opposition, you wouldn't develop the endurance you need to sustain what God is giving you. If you never had to fight through obstacles, you wouldn't gain the resilience required to walk in your purpose. The pressure you're feeling right now is not there to crush you, it's there to refine you. Some of you have been praying for God to remove the opposition. You've been asking him to make the path easier, to take away the resistance, to eliminate the struggle. But what if the opposition is part of the process? What if the very thing you're asking God to remove is the thing he's using to prepare you for what's next? What if the pressure is producing something in you that comfort never could? People will talk about you, they will question you, they will try to discredit you, they will misunderstand you. And that's okay. If Jesus himself was opposed, what makes you think you won't be? If people tried to stop him from fulfilling his purpose, what makes you think they won't try to stop you? If he had to endure rejection, betrayal, and false accusations, what makes you think you won't have to face the same? The resistance is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're following in the footsteps of those who came before you. There will be moments when you feel like the opposition is too much, moments when you want to walk away, moments when you wonder if it's even worth it. But the fact that you're facing resistance is proof that what you're doing matters. It's proof that you're walking in something significant. It's proof that the enemy sees you as a threat. The opposition may be frustrating. The struggle may feel overwhelming. The attacks may seem relentless. But don't let it shake you. Don't let it make you doubt yourself. Don't let it cause you to turn back. If the enemy is fighting you this hard, it's because he knows what's coming next. He sees the potential in you. He sees the anointing on your life. He sees the impact you're about to make. Every great move of God comes with opposition. Every breakthrough is preceded by resistance. Every person who has ever stepped into their calling had to fight through obstacles to get there. You are no different. What you're carrying is too important to give up now. What God has placed inside of you is too valuable to let the opposition stop you. The resistance is not a sign to quit. It's a sign to keep going. Faith is not just believing in God when everything is going well. Faith is believing even when nothing makes sense. It's standing firm even when the ground beneath you feels like it's shaking. It's trusting God when the doors don't open, when the prayers don't seem to get answered, when the breakthrough hasn't come yet. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about believing that God is still working even when you don't see it. Some people think faith is about feeling confident all the time, about never having questions, never having doubts. But real faith isn't the absence of questions. It's trusting God even in the middle of them. It's holding on to his promises even when circumstances try to convince you otherwise. It's choosing to believe that he is still good, still faithful, still in control, even when life looks like the opposite. There were moments when you felt like giving up, but something inside you wouldn't let you quit. That wasn't your strength, that was faith. There were times when everything in your situation said it was over, but you kept believing anyway. That wasn't just wishful thinking, that was faith. There were seasons when you didn't know how you were gonna make it, when you couldn't see a way forward, when you were surrounded by uncertainty, but you kept moving. That was faith. Faith is not about what you feel, it's about what you decide. Faith doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it looks ridiculous. Sometimes it means standing in front of a closed door and still believing that God can open it. Sometimes it means walking through a wilderness with no sign of the promised land in sight. Sometimes it means showing up when you feel empty, praying when you feel like God is silent, praising when everything around you feels broken. Faith is not logical. It doesn't always align with what you see. It doesn't always match what you feel, but faith is powerful because it isn't based on circumstances, it's based on who God is. Some of you are in a place right now where you feel like your faith is being tested. You've been believing, but you haven't seen results. You've been praying, but heaven feels silent. You've been waiting, but nothing is shifting. And you're starting to wonder if your faith even matters. But let me tell you, just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean God isn't working. Just because the answer hasn't come in your timing doesn't mean it isn't on the way. Faith is trusting that even when nothing changes, God is still moving. The enemy would love for you to give up in the waiting. He would love for you to let go of your faith because it seems like nothing is happening. He would love for you to walk away because you think God has forgotten you. But what if the delay is actually preparation? What if God is strengthening you in the waiting? What if what you're believing for is so much bigger than what you expected, that God has to get you ready before he gives it to you? What if what looks like silence is actually strategy? Faith is not about seeing, it's about trusting. It's about standing in the middle of uncertainty and still believing that God is faithful. It's about not letting what you see dictate what you believe. It's about understanding that just because God is not working on your timeline doesn't mean he's not working. Some of you have been praying for something for a long time and you're starting to lose hope. You've been waiting for breakthrough, waiting for restoration, waiting for the promise to be fulfilled, and it feels like it's never going to happen. But faith says, even if I don't see it today, I will still believe. Faith says, even if it takes longer than I thought, I will not stop trusting. Faith says, even if my circumstances tell me otherwise, I will not let go of what God has promised. Faith is not just about believing when it's easy. It's about believing when it's hard. It's about walking forward even when you don't know what's ahead. It's about trusting that God is leading you even when you can't see the destination. Faith is not passive, it's active. It's not just sitting back and hoping for the best. It's stepping out even when you don't know how it's going to work. It's moving forward even when you don't have all the detail. It's taking the next step even when you don't see the whole picture. Some of you are waiting for everything to make sense before you trust God. You're waiting for the path to be clear, for all the details to fall into place, for the confirmation to come in a way that removes all doubt. But faith doesn't work like that. If you could see everything, if you had all the answers, you wouldn't need faith. Faith is about stepping out even when things don't make sense. It's about trusting that God is already in your future, already making a way, already setting things up for your good. Abraham didn't know where he was going, but he followed God anyway. Noah didn't see rain, but he built the ark anyway. Peter didn't know if he could walk on water, but he stepped out of the boat anyway. Faith moves even when the outcome isn't certain. Faith obeys even when it doesn't understand. Faith trusts even when it can't see. Some of you are one step of faith away from breakthrough. You've been waiting for a sign, waiting for confirmation, waiting for everything to align, but God is saying move now. He's saying trust me now. He's saying step out now. Faith is not about waiting until you feel ready. It's about moving forward because you know God is with you. It's about trusting that if He called you to it, He will bring you through it. It's about understanding that even if things don't go the way you expect, God's plan is still greater. Faith doesn't always look the way you think it should. Sometimes it looks like walking through a storm instead of around it. Sometimes it looks like standing in the fire instead of being delivered from it. Sometimes it looks like staying in a place longer than you expected because God is still working in you. Faith is not about convenience. It's about commitment. It's not about ease. It's about endurance. It's not about comfort. It's about confidence in God. Some of you are in a season where your faith is being stretched. You're being asked to believe beyond what you can see. You're being challenged to trust God on a level you never have before. You're being positioned for something greater, but it requires faith to step into it. Faith to keep going when you feel like quitting. Faith to hold on when everything in you wants to let go. Faith to trust that even when things don't make sense, God is still working all things together for your good. Faith is not just about what you're believing for, it's about who you're believing in. It's about knowing that even if things don't happen the way you expect, God's plan is still perfect. It's about refusing to let fear dictate your decisions. It's about standing firm in what God has spoken, even when circumstances try to convince you otherwise. Some of you are on the edge of something big, and the only thing standing between you and what God has for you is a step of faith. The only thing keeping you from stepping into your next season is the fear of the unknown. But faith says, I don't have to see everything to move forward. Faith says, I don't have to understand everything to trust God. Faith says, I will step out even when I don't know where the path leads. Faith is what moves mountains, what opens doors, what brings breakthroughs. Faith is what takes you from where you are to where God is calling you to be. A woman blessed by God understands that her worth is not determined by the opinions of people, the size of her bank account, the success of her career, or the validation of the world. She knows her value is rooted in something deeper, something unshakable, something eternal. She refuses to let society, culture, or even her own doubts define her because she knows that the one who created her already spoke her worth before she took her first breath. She does not need to chase after approval because she walks in the confidence of knowing she is already chosen. She does not need to prove herself to anyone because she knows she is already enough in the eyes of her Creator. Too many people go through life believing they have to earn their worth. They think they have to achieve a certain level of success, look a certain way, or meet a certain standard before they can feel valuable. But a woman who is blessed by God understands that her worth was never something to be earned. It was given. It was declared by the one who formed her, the one who called her, the one who set her apart. She does not wait for people to recognize her value because she already knows she is priceless. The world will try to tell her that she is only as valuable as what she can produce, but she refuses to believe that lie. She knows that even on the days when she feels weak, even when she is in a season of waiting, even when she is not accomplishing anything the world would consider important, she is still loved, still chosen, still enough. She is not defined by what she does. She is defined by who she belongs to. A woman who understands her worth does not settle. She does not lower her standards to fit in. She does not shrink herself to make others comfortable. She does not compromise who she is to gain temporary acceptance. She knows that she is called to a higher standard, that she is worth more than cheap validation, that she is deserving of respect. She does not tolerate mistreatment, manipulation, or disrespect because she knows she is worth more than that. Some people will not understand her confidence. Some will mistake it for arrogance. Some will try to bring her down because they feel threatened by the way she carries herself. But she does not let their opinions shake her. She does not let their words define her. She does not let their insecurity become her problem. She walks in the fullness of who she is, not because she thinks she is better than anyone, but because she knows she is fearfully and wonderfully made. A woman who knows her worth does not waste her time chasing things that do not align with her purpose. She does not say yes to things just because she feels obligated. She does not allow distractions to pull her away from what God has called her to do. She understands that her time is valuable, her energy is precious, and her focus is necessary. She does not pour herself into relationships that drain her, opportunities that do not serve her, or spaces that do not honor her. She moves with intention, she operates with wisdom, she guards her heart with discernment. The world will try to convince her that she needs to do more, be more, achieve more in order to be worthy. It will tell her that if she is not constantly hustling, she is falling behind. But she knows that her worth is not in how much she accomplishes. It is not in how much recognition she receives. It is not in how busy she is. She understands that she is worthy even in the moments when she is resting, even in the seasons when things seem slow, even when she is simply existing. She does not measure her value by worldly standards. She measures it by the truth of God's word. A woman who knows her worth does not let fear dictate her decisions. She does not allow insecurity to hold her back. She does not let past mistakes convince her that she is unworthy of a beautiful future. She knows that she is not defined by where she has been. She is defined by where God is taking her. She refuses to let shame keep her in a place she has outgrown. She refuses to let guilt stop her from embracing the grace of God. She refuses to let regret steal the joy of what is ahead. She knows that she is not perfect, but she also knows that perfection was never the requirement. She knows that she has made mistakes, but she also knows that grace is greater than any failure. She does not let her flaws disqualify her. She does not let her past hold her hostage. She does not let the enemy convince her that she is not good enough. She stands firm in the truth that she is redeemed, she is loved, she is chosen, she is called. A woman who understands her worth walks differently. She speaks differently. She carries herself differently. She does not apologize for being who she is. She does not feel the need to explain why she refuses to settle. She does not entertain things that do not align with her purpose. She operates from a place of peace, not pressure. She moves with confidence, not insecurity. She loves from a place of abundance, not desperation. She gives freely, but she does not allow herself to be depleted. She is kind, but she does not allow herself to be walked over. She is strong, but she does not have to prove it to anyone. She does not chase, she attracts. She does not beg, she receives. She does not strive, she flows in the grace that has already been given to her. The way she sees herself changes the way she interacts with the world. Because she knows her worth, she does not settle for relationships that are beneath her value. Because she knows her worth, she does not tolerate environments that do not respect her. Because she knows her worth, she does not let temporary situations make her forget her eternal significance. She knows that her worth is not something that can be diminished by failure, rejection, or delay. It is not something that can be taken away by people's opinions. It is not something that fluctuates based on circumstances. Her worth is anchored in something deeper, something unshakable, something unchangeable. She is not perfect, but she is enough. She is not without flaws, but she is still valuable. She is not always confident, but she still walks in authority. She may have moments of doubt, but she does not live in insecurity. She may feel weak at times, but she knows that her strength is found in God. She may not always understand the path, but she trusts the one who is leading her. A woman who knows her worth does not need permission to be who God created her to be. She does not wait for validation to walk in her calling. She does not look to the world to affirm what God has already spoken. She moves forward with boldness, knowing that she is already enough, already chosen, already worthy. The opinions of others do not shake her. The expectations of the world do not pressure her. The standards of culture do not define her. She is secure in who she is because she is secure in who God is. She does not allow the lies of the enemy to take root in her mind. She does not believe the voices that try to tell her she is not enough. She does not entertain the doubts that try to make her question her value. She stands firm in the truth that she is loved, she is chosen, she is set apart. She walks with a confidence that comes not from arrogance, but from an unshakable faith in the one who created her. She moves through life knowing that she is not just any woman. She is a woman blessed by God.